Hello pretties, welcome to Websterell. So today I once again could not be bothered to put makeup on. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. I have good skin. We're just gonna leave it at that. But I'm doing something that I don't usually do on my channel, which is a review. Um yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're doing a review. So what I'm reviewing is the Lunar Beauty blushes that he just came out with. I do not have all the shades. He came out with 3 of them. I ended up buying only half of them, which is the ones that he described to be more neutral leaning, or more, yeah, more like not so bright, because that's just not my thing. So I ended up buying Mauve Mommy, Rose Reina, and Bloom Bella. Um, this launched on the 28th. I bought them on the 28th, but not right when they launched. I think it was a couple hours later because I saw the video actually that day a couple hours later. And so I ended up buying them. I ended up buying them because he had that discount buy two get one free, and I was like, that's it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy it. It's buy two get one free. If you've watched my low buy series, you know what this means for my numbers. We're not gonna talk about that right now, okay? We're just not gonna discuss that. And we're just gonna leave that at that. That being said, they do have like a little matte, like suede matte feeling. They do feel quite kind of nice. They do have that gradients feel that it usually has from his products. I currently don't have any of his lip products. I had a lip gloss from him, but I've now finished. So I no longer own it, and I think he finished it last year, so I don't have a packaging either. But this is like the normal for him, you know? Anyway, I ordered on the 28th. It didn't arrive to the 9th, which I think is a bit long, but not too long. So there's that. Something that I didn't notice until I actually got the shades in is that this shades look very familiar. And I'm gonna do comparisons because this shades look very familiar to me. And they're not exact dupes of shade to shade, but they're pretty fucking close. So I do have some comparisons from you, specifically from Rare Beauty. One of them is actually like a little sample size, which I was thinking of repurchasing in a full size or a mini size, but I decided that I don't need to because I have these ones now. I also want to quickly talk about like how much product is in it, because nobody actually says that, but it's something that I'm always looking for in reviews. Is like, tell me how much product is in this thing, because I want to make sure it's like worth my bank. Like if you guys saw me reacting or trying M Cosmetics for the first time, I was appalled, like absolutely enraged by how little product it was on the little pen thingy, lip product thingy, because it was ridiculous. I was like, there's no way I just paid more than $20 for what literally comes in a sample size. I was so enraged. It was like 0.05. I'm like, this cannot possibly be a full size product at 0.05. I know the lighting has been really crazy, that keeps going and going. It's really cloudy here in Austin, Texas, and as you guys know, I do use natural lighting. So my lighting is always a little interesting, but this is more than normal because like I look blue at times and then I come back to normal. So sorry about that. Hope it doesn't deter you from the video because I still think the information I'm saying is gonna be important. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. I want to know how much product is in these things because it just bothers me if I'm spending like, you know, high quality product. So this one is 0.23 ounces or 6.5 grams for all 3 of them. I actually have some Rare Beauty ones I'm going to compare it to. So a full size Rare Beauty is 0.25. So I think it's actually very comparable, and I think price wise it's about the same. We're about to find out. Let me go to the Sephora app, and how much do the Rare Beauty ones cost? Because these are 25 normally. I did get one buy two get one free, so obviously the price got knocked down significantly because of that. But Rare Beauty does have, sorry, not Rare Beauty, Lunar Beauty does have those codes, and you can use them for I think it's 10% off or something like that. I will say though, he said it in his video that the code, if you use the code to the buy two get one free, if you use that video, then you're not gonna be able to use the discount code, which I was fine with. I was like, sure, I'm already getting a huge discount, no problem. But I also wanted to buy the Lunar Beauty powder because I've heard so many good things about it on the internet. Everyone's been raving about it. I was like, I want to try it. So I was gonna buy that. And then, if you guys know, you know, I've been grappling or debating potentially buying the Nude Prism palette for about a year and a half, and I still haven't done it. And I've heard so many good things about it. Even now, still a year later or 2 years later, I'm still hearing so many good things about that palette. So I was like, I think I'm gonna buy it. You know, I'm already in this, you know, in the website. I might as well do it. But when I went to check out and I went to put Angelica's code, and I tried a couple other codes as well, it didn't work. It didn't work because I already had the code for this one. And I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, it won't work for these, but shouldn't it still work for anything else I'm buying? It didn't. So I ended up taking the palette out, but I still bought the powder. I really still bought the powder, and the reason why is because honestly, I don't know. I didn't want to spend the money on a full price palette when I could get on a discount. Okay, so the full size of a Rare Beauty is $23. So I think that's comparable. They probably come out about the same, and I mean it's only 0.02 like difference, so I'm not too mad about it. I think price wise is pretty good, and honestly this lasts for a very long time. I'm assuming honestly this is quite a bit of product, so I'm not too mad about it. I don't own anything else that's like liquid format in blushes. Everything else, oh actually I have a She Glam, but that's not a fair comparison. But just to check it out here, how much product is in this? This one's 0.17, so a bit less, quite a bit less. And then I have this one from, but this is a stick one, so I don't know that this is a comparable thing. This is 0.32. Yeah, I don't know that that's comparable. So I don't have a gigantic collection of like cream and liquid products. So if you do have more, great, leave it in the comment section. We're all curious to know. But as far as I can tell you, I only really have Rare Beauty to compare. I think price and amount of product is pretty on par. I am mostly going to be comparing this to the Rare Beauty ones because again, that's really all I really have to compare. And also because when I saw this, I was like, I own Rare Beauty shades that are really similar to this. So that being said, let's go into the comparison section. So I have Mauve Mommy, and this one is the one where it's comparable to another shade from Rare Beauty, the sample one that I was thinking of repurchasing as a full size, but I decided not to. And this is in the shade Encourage. There you go. And I will say this one's a little bit lighter, a little bit more pinky, more neutral. But okay, so this is the Lunar Beauty, this is the Rare Beauty one. If you can tell, like the shades are pretty fucking similar. This one's a little bit pinkier, a little bit lighter, but they're pretty similar. I think they're pretty comparable. The formula though, I will say, is nothing like the Rare Beauty one, and I'll go into that a bit more later, but just give you a heads up if you're looking for like, they're different enough formula wise where I don't think they're comparable in that sense. Only the colors I think they're comparable. Okay, so that was Mauve Mommy with Encourage from Rare Beauty. Like I said, pretty similar. Alright, then you have the shade, oh crap, I mixed them up, so now I can't remember which one is which. I had them back to back, like right like next to them, and now I'm not 100% sure, so I guess we're gonna find out together. Okay, so this is the shade Bloom Bella, and I think Bloom Bella was worth, but we'll find out. Alright, so we have Bloom Bella here. Bam. So it's like a rose, very warm tone, slightly like terracotta kind of shade. And then I have the shade here in Worth. Nope, that's not the one I was thinking about, although they're still pretty similar. Okay, so then it must be the other one. I shouldn't have mixed them up. Okay, so this is Wisdom. Yep, that's the one. Okay, so this is Wisdom. This is that one. I know on camera it looks a bit more pink, but I'm telling you, they're pretty fucking close in person. This one's like slightly more pink, this one's a little bit more warm tone, but they're pretty damn similar. And then that's the shade Wisdom in comparison to Bloom Bella. And then I already took out Worth, obviously, and I put it over here, which is a more, it is a more pinky shade. Honestly, maybe it was that one. Oh no, I can't tell anymore. All of them are starting to look a bit similar. Oh no, you know what, guys? I was wrong. Don't you love it? It was these two and then these two. Don't hit me. All right, so that was Rose Reina is actually in comparison with Wisdom. Yes. And then Worth is actually in comparison to Bloombea. Jesus Christ. Honestly, these four are they're kind of very similar. It's just like slightly undertoned ones, but more warm, and the ones a little more pinky. They're pretty fucking similar. But you can tell they're actually quite close. Now, let's go into the actual comparisons of the formula, because I think that's really where they stand out for differently. I will say pigment wise, they're pretty fucking same. I was actually surprised with how much pigment it was in the Lunar Beauty ones, because Rare Beauty is known for being extremely pigmented, but I love the Rare Beauty formula because even though yes it is very pigmented, it is super sheer. It has a lot of it gives you a lot of wiggle room. I think that's the best way to describe it. There's a lot of wiggle room as to, because it's so liquidy, it's so sheer, that it's, you know, high in viscosity. It just blends so easily. And then if you put powder on top, that's gonna like tone it down significantly. But something I'm sure you guys can tell even from just looking here, and I will do it with this one. So this is the Lunar Beauty one. This is not that. This one's thicker. And he said it was like a moussey texture, and I can tell because that's the Lunar Beauty one, and then this is me going with the Rare Beauty one, and it just blends so much faster, so much easier, because it is more liquidy versus moussey, and that made the biggest difference in the world that I did not know it made the biggest difference in the world. I think longevity, the Lunar Beauty ones have more longevity. If your qualms with the Rare Beauty one was that it didn't last long on your skin, then I think Lunar Beauty is gonna be a good comparison to it, because it will last for a lot longer, and it's because of that moussey texture. Now, granted, that is not something that I struggle with the Rare Beauty, but I am on the extreme side of my skin type. I not only have dry skin, I have extremely dry skin. I mentioned before that I have really good skin, and the reason I have such good skin is because my skin is so dry that it's inhospitable for any zits or anything like that to live in it. My face is so dry that I literally, the reason why I did not like the hyaluronic acid foundation from ColourPop was nothing to do with the formula or the coverage or anything. It's because it was too dry for my skin tone. I literally have never heard anyone say that before, but that's how dry my skin is. My skin is so dry that I literally, by the end of the day, my face gets so tight from being dry. I have to like spritz it with like finishing spray, or completely take off my makeup and like just put moisturizer on, because that's how dry my skin is. So everything makeup that I put on my face, it, unless I sweat it off, which very likely here in Texas, unless I sweat it off, it's gonna stick to my face no matter what. And even if I started my day looking hydrating and like super luminous and like all this stuff, by 2-3 o'clock I'm gonna look soft matte. I'm gonna look like semi matte, and by the end of the day I'm gonna look matte as hell. Because my skin is just absorbing as much as it can absorb, and that's with me having an extreme heavy moisturizing formula in my morning and my night routine. I have really dry skin, and there's nothing I can do about it. I drink plenty of water, so that's not the case. I'm making sure that I have like good ingredients in my skincare, because if I don't use the skincare that I normally use and I were to go with something lighter, I literally start peeling, and it's like scaling. So I'm on the extreme end of things. So please I'm saying all of that to give you some, feedback, because I do think Rare Beauty lasts for me for pretty much all day. I don't have to do anything about it, but I can see somebody with like normal combination or oily skin having issues retaining that kind of formula. So I think a good an alternative for that would be the Lunar Beauty ones, because it is thicker in nature, and it is thicker, that it will last a lot longer, because once it's completely dried up, it almost mattifies into like a powdery texture. It was strange, not in a bad way, but it was just strange because I've never really encountered that. The not a good comparison, but texture wise felt very similar to the Bare Minerals liquid lipsticks, which I haven't used one in a very long time, but I've used enough of them in the past where I remember that texture, and that is what these blushes feel like. And in the moussey texture, it is a little thicker, and they does feel slightly powdery at the end. It's hard to explain, but I hope that makes sense. So if longevity was your issue with Rare Beauty, I think Lunar is going to be a good way to go with that. Now, there are pros and cons to it being more moussey and thicker in texture. The first thing that I can tell you, I was doing my makeup and I received a phone call from work. Just putting your perspective, received a phone call from work, and so I paused doing my makeup. I had already applied the dots in my face, and I had already like sprayed them out with my finger, but I hadn't blended out. I took the phone call. It took maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know. It wasn't that long ago. By the time I came back, I was struggling to blend this. I was so shocked. I was like, oh shit, because I was just like literally beating my face trying to like blend it out and put it in. And like really like blend it out, and I was like, holy fuck, why is this so hard to like blend out? And I will say it did end up looking a little patchy, but I had worn it on other days and I didn't have that issue. I have worn each one once, so I've used the formula 3 times altogether, which is not a lot of practice per se, but just want to put that out there. I have used it a couple times. I'm kind of glad that I got that phone call though, because I may have not known that that was an issue. Now, that being said, after experiencing that, the day before I had actually done what Mandy told you not to do, which was to put your cream product on top of your powder, because something that I like about the Rare Beauty ones is that I can in fact do that and have no problem with it. I can put it on top of my powder and it has no problem. Now, clarification, let me pull you out of that for a second, because when I say eye powder, I don't mean the same way that somebody with normal or combination or oily skin may mean by when they say powder. So I want to clarify what that means. When I say powder, I literally mean that I powder my under eye to like make sure my concealer does not crease, and then I grab another brush with a little bit of like a different powder to like take the excess off, and then whatever's excess, I just like dust it all over my face. That's what I mean by powder, which is not a lot of powder, because I also make sure to take off the excess when I put the puff in. So when I say that, just know that my entire face is not fully powdered and matted out. So if that's what you're doing, I'm not 100% sure how it will work, but even me just doing that, I had a bit of a problem when I did that. And granted, I wasn't really mad about it, because Manny even said in his video that is not the way to do it. That you are supposed to put it underneath your powder and then powder on top, but that you could potentially get away with it. I agree with that. I think you could potentially get away with it, because I actually did get away with it. But again, because it was a bit thicker in texture and it does dry a little bit quicker, and I did exactly like he said. He said to put it on a brush and then put it on your face. Even me doing that, I had a bit of a harder time blending it out. But once it was on, it was on. It is thicker. I could see how it potentially could disturb your foundation underneath, and I don't think it's because of the formula itself. I think it's because of the blending it would take. So because again, it is very, very pigmented. So I think that's what the issue is that it's so pigmented that you do have to go with just one dot on each side and then just like blend it out. And that process of blending could disturb your foundation, because it is quite pigmented and it does take work to blend it in. Personally, I don't mind, but I want to note that. Something else, comparison with the Rare Beauty one, is I normally do sometimes go overboard with my blush with the Rare Beauty one, and I don't particularly mind that, because I know that as soon as I powder it, it's gonna tone down significantly. That was not the case with this one, and I want to make sure to say that because once the Lunar Beauty was down, it was so pigmented that, and I guess again because it is a bit more thicker, that putting that powder on top did absolutely nothing except for setting it in place. And it didn't really tone down the pigment or the tone of it. Maybe if you have a more intense powder than what I use, you might have a similar situation, but I specifically use the translucent light from Lunar Beauty, and I use my regular powder that I normally use, which is the e.l.f. That's not it. Where is it? the HD powder from e.l.f. Those are the two that I normally use. And with those two, the color payoff did not change at all. It really just set it in place, and that was it. It didn't add to it, it didn't help me blend it out. That sometimes when I use powder with the Rare Beauty one, it does actually help me blend it out a bit, because you do have a little bit of wiggle room with the formula being more liquidy. That's not the case with the Lunar Beauty one, because again, it's a little thicker, so it was just different in that sense. And pros and cons to that: pro, pigment payoff, amazing. I think my hardest thing was the blending. It's not to say that it's hard to blend it, but it's hard to sheer it out, because there is so much pigment straight off the bat. I want to note that. So you really want to go light-handed, and you really want to be careful. I almost feel like I should like put it on my cheeks right now so I can show you what I'm talking about. I'm not wearing any foundation or anything, but I'm gonna go with Bloom Bea, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There's a lot of pigment in here. So normally how I would apply it is like this. See, just that one dot. Look at all of that. And again, the biggest difference between this one and the Rare Beauty one is, quite honestly, this is a dirty ass sponge. We're not gonna talk about that. The biggest difference is it's gonna stay this pigmented. If I were to do the same thing with the Rare Beauty one, it would sheer out way more than this. So you see that there's still so much pigment, just so much pigment. So I'm gonna compare it with the Worth one on the other side so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And see, still a lot of pigment. I'm not denying the pigment's there on either one. But this one's just way more liquidy, and so it just shears out and blends out, I think, a lot easier. Okay, we're not here for precision and like for my cheeks to look any sort of even at all. But you can see the color is actually a bit more sheer on this side than on that side. Not sure if you guys can tell that, but I do want to quickly just like set it with a little bit of powder so you guys can see what I'm talking about when I say that this side will sheer out a bit. I'm just using my number 7. See, it just like shears out quite a bit. And then the Lunar Beauty one, not so much. See, this one toned down significantly, this one did not. So just to show you, this end will end up looking more natural, which again, I don't mind, because I feel like it gives you a bit more wiggle room. I think this is a bit more beginner friendly. This is gonna be there. It's just gonna be there. And so whatever that you went on with, that's however much you're gonna end up with. And it is quite hard to like blend it out. I look a little crazy right now. Holy shit. We're not gonna worry about that right now. We're not gonna worry about it. No. Like I said, I mean, you guys saw it. I didn't even necessarily have a hard time blending it. Granted, I have way too much product. I didn't have a hard time blending it, but at the same time, you know, it looks harsh. It looks harsh. Granted, I don't have my full face on. I think if I were to have full face makeup, this would look a bit more natural. But this looks a lot softer. So formula-wise, I think they're very different. Just to like kind of sum it all up, this one will stay on, I think, a lot better. I think if you have oily skin, this is going to stay on really well. Like I said, they do blend. I definitely do not recommend putting it on top of powder, and not necessarily because I actually think it's difficult to do it, because I actually was able to do it on top of powder, is because it is harder to blend. You definitely want to blend immediately after putting it in. Do not let it dry. You're gonna have a really hard time blending it. And I think, again, it has to do with that music consistency. What else? I think that's everything I wanted to say. I can't think of anything else. But if you have any other questions, let me know. I've obviously have not finished testing them out. I'm still working on that. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.